Good morning for everybody. Let's wait something like 1 minute and then we start. I see, yes, here your names. Okay, great. Wait 1-2 minutes and start. So, let's start our third lecture about psychology. I think there's 3 minutes, it's enough. So, today it's our third lecture, about psychology. As I told you previously, about psychology it will be something like 4 or 5 lectures, and then we start pedagogy. So, today our lecture will be about these 3 very important parts in psychology. Okay, I think everything works. Yes, here it's working. Here it's working too. Okay, we can start. So, we will speak about personality, temperament, and character. It's 3 very important and very interesting parts in psychology. And we start from personality, of course, and in the end you understand that these 3 parts very important and they close together. So let's start from personality. So what is personality? Personality refers to individual differences in characteristic patterns of thinking, feeling, and behaving. The study of personality focuses on 2 broad areas. First, one of is understanding individual differences in particular personality characteristics such as sociability or irritability. The other is understanding how the various parts of person come together as a whole. So personality is a very big part, and we've got a lot of characteristics of personality. For example, in this picture you can see something. And also, your unique personality makes you who you are and influences everything from your relationship to the way you live. Personality psychology is one of the largest and most popular branches of psychology. We already spoke about it. So it's called personality psychology. Professionals who study personality psychology want to understand how personality develops as well as how it influences the way we think and behave. Psychologists look at how personality vary among individuals as well as how people are similar. They also assess, diagnose and treat personality disorders. But personality psychology, it's not very easy because we've got different personality and also we've got temperament and character. And when we see a lot of theories of personality, a lot of theories of character and temperament, you understand this personality psychology, it's famous, popular, but really hard branches of psychology. So many would argue that what makes you unique is the characteristic patterns of thought, feeling, and behaviors that make up your personality. While there is no single agreed upon definition of personality, it is often thought of as something that arises from within the individual and remains fairly consistent throughout life. Personality encompasses all of the thoughts, behavior patterns, and social attitudes that impact how we view ourselves and what we believe about others and the world around us. Understanding personality allows psychologists to predict how people will respond to certain situations and the sort of things they prefer and value. So we've got a lot of theories of personality, and let's see the most interesting, the most important, and the most famous. A number of theories have emerged to explain the aspects of personality. Some are focused on explaining how personality develops, while others are considered with individual differences in personality. So first is trait theories of personality. The trait theories of personality center on the idea that personality is comprised of broad traits of disposition. Various theories have been proposed to identify which attributes a key components in personality, as well as attempts to determine in total number of personality traits. Psychologist Gordon Allport was one of the first to describe personality in terms of individual traits. In his dispositional perspective, Allport suggested that there are different kinds of traits: common, central, and cardinal. Common traits are shared by many people within a particular culture. Central traits are those that make up an individual's personality. Cardinal traits are those that are so dominant that a person becomes primarily known for those characteristics. Allport suggested that there were as many as 4,000 individual traits. Another psychologist Raymond Cattell, proposed that there were 16. Cattell also believed that these traits exist on a continuum and that all people possess each trait in varying degrees. A psychologist named Hans Isaac would narrow the list of traits further, suggesting there were only three: extroversion, neuroticism, and psychoticism. And we will speak about it later. And also in internet you can find a lot of tests, a lot of more easy information about Cattell, about Isaac, about Allport, and here we can see how it looks like. So it's Gordon Allport, Raymond Cattell, and Hans Isaac. Next theory. We already know about Freud, and of course Freud also got his own theory in personality. Freud's theory of psychosexual development is one of the best known personality theories, but also one of the most controversial. According to Freud, children progress through a series of stages of personality development. At each stage, a libidinal energy, the force that drives all human behavior, becomes focused on specific erogenous zone. Another psychologist, Erik Erikson, described 8 psychological stages of our life. With Erikson's theory, each stage plays a significant role in the development of a person's personality and psychological skills. During each psychological stage, an individual will face a developmental crisis that serves as a turning point of the development. Successfully completing each stage leads to the development of healthy personality. Erikson was more interested in how social interaction influenced the development of personality. He was primarily concerned with the development of what he called ego identity. While Freud theory suggested that personality is primarily formed and set in stone and in early age, Erikson believed that personality continued to develop throughout life. And also you can see Sigmund Freud and Erik Erikson. So, how we can test our personality? How personality is tested? To study and measure personality, psychologists have developed personality tests and assessments. The tests are widely used in a variety of settings. For example, the famous Myers-Briggs Type Indicator, MBTI, is frequently used as a pre-employment screening assessment. Just a second. Yes. Myers-Briggs type indicator. So if you, for example, interested in some tests, you can easily find in internet. Other assessments can be used to help people learn more about different aspects of their personality. Some tests are used as screening and evaluation tools to help diagnose personality disorders. Gaining a better understanding of your personality can be helpful in many aspects of your life. For example, relationship with your friends, family, co-workers might improve when you become aware that you work well with others or that you need to make time to be alone. You have probably encountered a selection of personality tests online, for example, an online quiz that tell you whatever you want, or for example, introvert you or extrovert. Some of these tests purport to reveal the real you, while others are clearly meant only for entertainment. Personality assessment that you take online should be taken with a grain of salt, of course. Informal tools can be fun and might offer some insight to you, preference and characteristic, but only personality tests administered by trained and qualified professionals should be used as formal assessment or to make a diagnosis. So, in internet we've got a lot of different tests about psychology. Some is very funny, very short test, for example 10 questions, that's all. But we need to understand that it is just for fun, maybe for your understanding who you are, but not for making some diagnosis or try to understand, for example, do you have a depression or not. You need to understand that only professional psychologists and psychiatrists can make this really professional test. For example, a lot of psychological tests, we got more than 200 questions or 300 questions, so you need to spend more than 1 hour or just maybe 2 hours. And in internet we've got tests, for example 10-15 questions for 5 minutes, and I show you one of them, short test about your temperament. So you need to understand that it's just for your entertainment. It's different tests. So now we'll speak about personality disorders. Personality psychologists are also interested in studying problems with personality that may arise. Personality disorders are characterized as chronic and pervasive mental disorder that can seriously impact a person's thought, behavior, and interpersonal function. The current edition of the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders is called DSM-5, lists 10 personality disorders, including antisocial personality disorders, borderline personality disorders, narcissistic personality disorders, and obsessive-compulsive personality disorders. Also, you can see it here, some of them. So let's see what types in DSM-5. The DSM-5 organized personality disorders into the three group or cluster based on shared key features. So we will see the main three cluster. First is cluster A. These personality disorders are characterized by odd or eccentric behavior. People with cluster A personality disorders tend to experience major disruption in relationships because their behavior may be perceived as suspicious, detached, and cluster A personality disorders include paranoid personality disorders, schizoid, and schizotypical personality disorders. Cluster B. The cluster B personality disorders are characterized by dramatic or erratic behavior. People who have a personality disorder from this cluster tend to either experience very intense emotions or engage in extremely impulsive, promiscuous, or law-breaking behavior. So cluster B personality disorders include antisocial personality disorders, borderline personality disorders, histrionic personality disorders, and narcissistic personality disorders. Cluster C. Cluster C personality disorders are characterized by anxiety. People with personality disorders in this cluster tend to experience pervasive anxiety and or fearfulness. Cluster C personality disorders include avoidant personality disorders, dependent personality disorders, and obsessive-compulsive personality disorders. If you're interested in this DSM-5, you can see a lot of book, manual of these mental disorders. You can find it in internet and maybe read about it, because we don't speak about psychology like from psychiatry and psychology. We just see different type, different ways. If you're interested, you can read more about it in internet. For example, these two books. Personality is a broad subject that touches on nearly every aspect of what makes people who they are. There are many ways to think about personality. There are some theories that focus on individual traits, and those that consider the different development stage that take place as personality emerges or sometimes change over time. Psychologists are not only interested in understanding normal human personality, but in recognizing potential personality disturbance that might lead to distress or difficulty in key life areas. By being able to identify problems people have at home, school, work, or in their relationships, psychologists are better able to help people develop skills to cope and manage the symptoms of personality disorders. And of course, we need to understand that if psychologists want to try to work with these disorders or try to help people, he need to know a lot of medicinal information. He need to know more about psychiatry and about more medical type of psychology, of course. So now we will see a small video about personality, and after that we will speak about temperament. But first of all, it's video about our personality.
How would you describe your personality? Maybe friendly, creative, quirky? What about nervous or timid, or outgoing. But has anyone ever called you a sanguine? What about a kapha, or full of metal? Ancient Greek physician Hippocrates believed personality manifested itself in 4 different humors, and basically, you are who you are because of your balance of phlegm blood and yellow and black bile. According to traditional Chinese medicine, our personalities depend on the balance of 5 elements: earth, wind, water, metal, and fire. Those who practice traditional Hindu Ayurvedic medicine view each other as unique combinations of 3 different mind-body principles called doshas. But Sigmund Freud thought our personalities depended in part on who was winning the battle of urges between the id, ego, and superego. Meanwhile, humanistic psychologist Abraham Maslow suggested that the key to self-actualization was first successfully climbing a hierarchy of more basic needs. And then you got your BuzzFeed quizzes to determine what kind of pirate or font or sandwich or Harry Potter character you are, but I would never take one of those seriously. All this is to say that people have been characterizing one another for a long time, and whether you're into blood or bile or ego or id or BLT or PB&J, there are a lot of ways to describe and measure a personality. And all these theories, all the years of research and cigar smoking and inkblot gazing and the fans debating whether they're more of a Luke or a Leia, they're all funneling down to one big central question. Who or what is the self? Last week we talked about how psychologists often study personality by examining the differences between characteristics, and by looking at how these various characteristics combine to create a whole thinking, feeling person. The early psychoanalytic and humanistic theorists had a lot of ideas about personality, but some psychologists questioned their lack of clearly measurable standards, like if there was no way to really quantify someone's inkblot response or how orally fixated they might be. So this drive to find a more empirical approach spawned 2 more popular theories in the 20th century, known as the trait and social cognitive perspectives. Instead of focusing on things like lingering unconscious influences or missed growth opportunities, trait theory researchers look to define personality through stable and lasting behavior patterns and conscious motivations. Legend has it that it all began in 1919 when young American psychologist Gordon Allport paid a visit to none other than Freud himself. Allport was telling Freud about his journey there on the train and how there was this little boy who was obsessed with staying clean and didn't want to sit next to anyone or touch anything. Allport wondered if the boy's mother had a kind of dirt phobia that had rubbed off on him. So yada yada yada, he's telling his tale, and at the end of it, Freud looks at him and says, "Was that little boy you?" Allport was basically like, "No, man, that was just some kid on the train. Don't try to make this into some big unconscious episode from my repressed childhood." Allport thought Freud was digging a little too deep, and that sometimes you just need to look at motives in the present, not the past, to describe behavior. So Allport started his own club, describing personality in terms of fundamental traits, or characteristic behaviors and conscious motives. He wasn't so much interested in explaining traits as he was in describing them. Modern trait researchers like Robert McCrae and Paul Costa have since organized our fundamental characteristics into what's casually known as the Big Five: openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism, which you can remember using the mnemonic ocean or canoe, whichever one you prefer. Each of these traits exists on a spectrum, so for example, your level of openness can range on one end from being totally open to new things and variety, or wanting strict, regular routine on the other end. Your degree of conscientiousness can translate into being impulsive and careless, or careful and disciplined. Someone high on the extroversion end will be sociable, while those on the low end will be shy and reserved. A very agreeable person, meanwhile, is helpful and trusting, while someone at the opposite end may be suspicious or uncooperative. And finally, on the neuroticism spectrum, an emotionally stable person will be more calm and secure, while a less stable person is often anxious, insecure, and self-pitying. The important idea here is that these traits are hypothesized to predict behavior and attitude. Like an introvert might prefer communicating through email more than an extrovert, and an agreeable person is much more likely to help their neighbor move that couch than a suspicious one who's just glaring through the window. By adulthood, trait theorists will tell you these characteristics are pretty stable, but that isn't to say that they can't flex a little in different situations. Like that same shy person might end up singing Elvis karaoke in a room full of people under the right conditions. So our personality traits are better at predicting our average behavior than what we do in any specific situation. And research indicates that some traits, like neuroticism, seem to be better predictors of behavior than others. This flexibility that we all seem to have leads to the 4th major theory on personality, the social cognitive perspective. Originally proposed by our bobo-beating friend Alfred Bandura, the social cognitive school emphasizes the interaction between our traits and their social context. context. Bandura noted that we learn a lot of our behavior by watching and imitating others. That's the social part of the equation. But we also think a lot about how these social interactions affect our behavior, which is the cognitive part. So in this way, people and their situations basically work together to create behavior. Bandura referred to this sort of interplay as reciprocal determinism, meaning that, for example, the kind of books you read or music you listen to or friends you hang out with say something about your personality because different people choose to be in different environments. And then those environments, in turn, continue to reinforce our personalities. So if Bernice has a kind of anxious, suspicious personality, and she has a serious Titanic crush on Sherlock Holmes, she might be extra attuned to potentially dangerous or fishy situations. But the more she sees the world in that way, the more anxious and suspicious she gets. In this way, we're both the creators and the products of the situations we surround ourselves with. That's why one of the key indicators of personality in this school of thought has to do with our sense of personal control. That is, the extent to which you perceive that you have control over your environment. Someone who believes that they control their own fate or make their own luck is said to have an internal locus of control, while those who feel like they're just guided by forces beyond their control are said to have an external locus. Now, whether we're talking about control versus helplessness, introversion versus extroversion, calm versus anxious, or whatever, each of these different personality perspectives have their own methods of testing and measuring personality. We've talked before about how the psychoanalyst superhunk Herman Rorschach used his ink blot test to infer information about a person's personality. We know that Freud used dream analysis, and both he and Jung were fans of free association. The broader school of theorists, now known as the Psychodynamic Camp that descended from Freud and pals, also use other projective psychological tests, including the famous thematic apperception test. In this kind of test, you'd be presented with evocative but ambiguous pictures and then asked to provide information about them. You might be asked to tell a story about the scenes, considering things like how are the characters feeling, or what's going on, or what happened before this event and what will happen after. Like, check it out. Is the woman crying because her brother just died or from a bee sting? Or is she a maid laughing because some royal just passed out drunk in his bed? Or perhaps the object of her long-burning affection has just confessed his love in a fever haze, all Jane Austen style, and she's having a mini breakdown in the hall. The idea is that your responses will reveal something about your concerns and motivations in real life, or how you see the world, or about your unconscious processes that drive you. By contrast with that approach, though, modern trait personality researchers believe that you can assess personality traits by having people answer a series of test questions. There are lots of so-called personality trait inventories out there. Some provide a quick reading on a particular enduring trait like anxiety or self-esteem, while others gauge a wide range of traits like our friends the Big Five. These tests, like the Myers-Briggs, which you might have heard of, involve long questionnaires of true-false or agree-disagree questions like, do you enjoy being the center of attention? Do you find it easy to empathize with others? Or do you value justice over mercy? But the classic Minnesota multiphasic personality inventory is probably the most widely used personality test. The most recent version asks a series of 567 true-false questions, varying from no one seems to understand me, to I like mechanics magazines, to I loved my father, and is often used to identify emotional disorders. Then there's how Bandura's social cognitive camp sizes you up. Because this school of thought emphasizes the interaction of environment and behavior rather than just traits alone, they aren't solely into questions and answers. Instead, they might measure personality in different contexts. Understanding behavior in one situation is best predicted by how you acted in a similar situation. Like if Bernice freaked out and tried to hide under the bed during the last 5 thunderstorms, we can predict that she will do that again next time. And if we conducted a controlled lab experiment where, say, we looked at the effects of thunderstorm noises on people's behavior, we might get an even better sense of what baseline psychological factors could best predict storm-induced freakouts. And finally, there are the humanistic theorists like Maslow. They often reject standardized assessments altogether. Instead, they tend to measure your self-concept through therapy, interviews, and questionnaires that ask subjects to describe both how they would ideally like to be and how they actually are. The idea is that the closer the actual and ideal are, the more positive the subject's sense of self. Which brings us back to that biggest motherlode question of them all. Who or what is the self? All the books out there about self-esteem, self-help, self-awareness, self-control, and so on are built upon one assumption, that the self is the organizer of our thoughts and feelings and actions, essentially the center of a personality. But, of course, It's a sticky issue. One way to think about self is through the concept of possible selves, like your ideal self, perhaps devastatingly attractive and intelligent, successful and well-loved, as well as your most feared self, the one who could end up unemployed and lonely and run down. This balance of potential best and worst selves motivates us through life. In the end, once you factor in environment and childhood experiences, culture, and all that mess, not to mention biology, which we haven't even touched on today, can we really firmly define self, or answer certainly that we even have one? That, my friend, is one of life's biggest questions, and so far it has yet to be universally answered. But you learned a lot anyway today, right? As we talked about the trait and social cognitive perspectives, and also about different ways these schools and others measure and test personality. We also talked about what self is and how our self-esteem works. Thanks for watching, especially to our Subbable subscribers who make Crash Course possible. To find out how you can become a supporter, just go to subbable.com/.
So it was 10 minutes video about another theory of personality, and also some interesting fact about ourselves, about our personality, about our temperature, and also about Big Five. About Big Five characteristic we will speak later today when we start to speak about character, but also I will tell you about it, of course. So it was our first part about personality. Second part is temperament. So let's speak about our temperament. So what is temperament? Temperament refers to our unborn personality traits, which are genetic in nature. The different way infants interact with and react to the environment and experience are reflective of their temperament or behavior style. Efforts to understand individual differences in personality have occurred throughout history. Despite this, there is no clear consensus as to what the specific temperament traits are called or how they should be categorized. So the most famous and the most oldest personality type system in the world is the four is the four temperamental model, or four temperaments. The origins of this typology belong to Greece Arabic medicine, where it was successfully used to treat illnesses. In fact, it is still used today by practitioners of traditional medicine around the world. So, humor, an ancient medical concept, is at the heart of this typology. Humors here refer to fluids that are present within one's body. Different people have different proportion of the fluids. The predominance of one fluid defines one's temperament and psychological type. And I think you heard about these four temperaments. But it is one of the temperament theory, but the most famous and the most popular. Today we will speak about two temperament theory. So the four temperaments and their predominant humors are follows. So it's sanguine, it's blood; phlegmatic, it's phlegm; hilaric, yellow bile; melancholic, black bile, and also Arabic terms. So also you can see it here. So it's sanguine, phlegmatic, hilaric, and melancholic. And we will speak about these four temperaments more closely. So the predominance of one humor is said to affect one's appearance and behavior. However, most people have mixed temperament. So we can't be 100% of hilaric, or 99% of sanguine, or 200% of phlegmatic. In our body, in our soul, we've got all four humor, but sometimes one or two of them is dominant. So let's speak about every four of them. So first is sanguine personality type. People with a sanguine personality type tend to be very lively, optimistic, buoyant, and carefree. They love adventure and have high risk tolerance. Sanguine people are typically poor at tolerating bedroom and will seek variety and entertainment. Naturally, the traits can sometimes negatively affect their romantic and other relationships. Because this temperament is prone to pleasure-seeking behavior, many people with sanguine personality are likely to struggle with addiction. Their constant craving can lead to overeating and weight problems sometimes. Sanguine people are very creative and can become great artists. Moreover, they are fantastic entertainers and will do well if they choose career in the entertainment industry. Their natural abilities will also serve them well if they choose jobs related, for example, to marketing, travel, fashion, cooking, or sports. If you're interested to read more about these four personality, you can find a lot of information about them on the internet. And also I'll show you the most famous test about this temperament. Phlegmatic. So, phlegmatic personality type. Someone with a phlegmatic personality is usually a people person. They seek interpersonal harmony and close relationship, which makes phlegmatic people loyal spouses and loving parents. They make it a point to preserve the relationship with old friends, distant family members, and neighborhoods. People with phlegmatic temperament tend to avoid conflicts and always try to mediate between others to restore peace and harmony. They are very much into charity and helping others. Ideal career for phlegmatic personality type should be related to nursing, teaching, psychology or counseling, child development or social service. Hilaric personality type. Someone with a pure hilaric temperament is usually a goal-oriented person. Hilaric people are very savvy, analytical, and logical, extremely practical and straightforward. They aren't necessarily good companions or particularly friendly. They dislike small talks and enjoy deep and meaningful conversation. They would rather be alone than in company of shallow, superficial people. Ideally, they want to spend time with people who have similar professional interests. Ideal jobs for hilaric are related to the following industry: management, technology, statistics, engineering, programming, or business. Also, hilaric is more not open, sometimes more nervous person. Melancholic personality type. People with melancholic personality love tradition. Women cook for men, men open door for women. They love their family and friends, and like sanguine people, they do not look for novelty or adventure. Even though they avoid it as much as they can. Someone with a melancholic temperament is unlikely to marry foreign or leave their homeland for another country, for example. Melancholic people are very social and seek to contribute to the community. Being extremely thorough and accurate, they are fantastic managers with good personality. Preferred career for melancholic personality type should be in management, accounting, social work, or administration. Also, you can see a lot of, and you can find a lot of picture about this four temperament. Also, you can see here, for example. So we can see what sanguine, phlegmatic, choleric, and melancholic, and stable, unstable, introvert, extroverted. And we see some characteristic that near to this temperament. For example, choleric, active, optimistic, impulsive, changeable, aggressive, touchy, melancholic, moody, anxious, sober, quiet, and so on. Of course, it's as I said, can't be for or 100% melancholic and that's all, only melancholic. Sometimes we mixed. Very often, for example, person with choleric temperament also got sanguinic. So it's like 15 choleric, 15 sanguine, something like that. And also you can see some picture here. Phlegmatic, choleric, sanguinic, melancholic. In ancient time, scientists thought that this temperament also, we can see it in our appearance. But of course now it's not true because we don't think that all sanguinic look like this, of course. And also I found another picture, but I can't find it in English version because I always see it in Russian version. But it's a very funny picture, and yes, it's in Russian. So you can see here hilaric, it's in Russian hilaric, and some picture about hilaric, phlegmatic, melancholic, and sanguinic, and you can see the different reaction in one situation. I love this picture because it really shows the difference between temperament, but I can't find it in English. And also here you can see a test, a test about temperament, and I hope it's work. Let's check. So you can copy it when I show you the presentation, and if you're interested, and this is small test, you can make it. So here you can see the question, and then you can see your results and maybe read something new about you. But it's small test, you can see just 8 questions, and of course it's for fun, for your entertainment, but if you're interested you can do it because it's really funny, and maybe you see something interesting and new about you. So also if you're interested you can see this website is also interesting with different tests, but for your entertainment, for your fun, for just your holiday, not like really big science, because very big and very important test, of course, you need professional psychologists in it. So this was first temperament theory, the most famous, and this theory very famous in Russia. And now let's see another temperament theory, which quite popular in US, in Europe, and also in Russia too. So it's called Cursive temperament sorter. The Cursive temperament sorter is a self-report personality assessment created by psychologist David Cursive. It was introduced in the public in his 1978 book, Please Understand Me. The questionnaire divides people into 4 temperaments, which Cursive labeled artisan, guardian, idealist, and rational. So each of the 4 temperaments is then further sorted into 4 character types, leading to a total of 16 possible personality types in total. So the 4 temperament types each have different strengths and weakness, skill and talent, and let's repeat it: artisan, guardian, idealist, and rational. And you can see it, for example, here, like it's look like. And also later I show you the website about it. So let's speak about each of them. Artisan. As the name indicates, artisans tend to excel in the art or anything that requires creativity. They are talented and working with solid objects and confronting real-world situations. Also, they are willing to take risks and break the rules, and can be impulsive in the constant quest for excitement and adventure. According to the Cursive group, 30 to 35% of the world's population are artisans. Guardian. Guardians are dependable, hardworking individuals who keep the wheels of society turning. They are concrete and cooperative, which means they follow the rules and respect authority. They are dedicated to maintaining law and order and believe in customs and tradition. According to the Cursive group, 4 or 45% of the world's population are guardians. Idealists tend to focus on personal growth, self-improvement, and people reaching their potential. They are abstract and cooperative, and as a result, they strongly believe in working together harmoniously to propose what could be rather than what is. They are loyal, honest, kind, and to purpose careers that enable them to help people. According to the Cursive group, 15 to 20% of the world's population are idealists. So, and rational. Rational are the rarest of the four temperaments. Rational are problem solvers who enjoy figuring out systems and determine how to improve them. They are pragmatic in the approach and interested in abstract concepts that underline whatever system have caught their interest. Rational value intelligence, independent thinking, and logic. According to the Cursive group, 5 to 10% of the world population are rational. The Cursive temperament sorter is one of the most popular personality assessments used today. It has been taken by over more than 1 million people in 1 country and translated into 80 languages. Also, we can find it like TC2. It's a 70 question forced choice assessment where the respondent must choose between two options for each them. And you can see official website also and visit this official website. So let's see, let's check. Everything must be working. Yes, so here you can see the official cursive.com website, and if you're interested you can read more about it. You can see a lot of information. You can read more about the cursive if you're interested, for example, artisan, portrait of artisan, keywords, for example, how many people. So it's really interesting website. If you're interested in your temperament, I think you should visit it, and I think it will be interesting for you to understand something really new maybe. Also, you can see a lot of information here, and you can find a test about for temperament and try it on. So this is cursive.com. Also, you can see a link here, and when I send you a presentation, you can copy and visit it. But as I said, in Russia, more popular is for temperaments: sanguine, phlegmatic, hilaric, melancholic, than cursive. And if we find more information about temperament in internet, we can find another theory, because we've got a lot of theory about temperament. For example, in humanistic psychology, behavioral psychology, gestalt, and so on. It's normal because in psychology a lot of theories, school and branches. That's why I show you just two, the most maybe interesting, the most popular. And also we'll see a small video, and then will be our third part about character. So it will be small video about for temperament, just for 5 minutes.
Four temperaments and their effects on the workplace. More often than not, when people see successful individuals, they often wonder, what type of personality do these people have? Were they simply born to be successful? Is it possible that these people just made the best of what they already had? One Greek man named Hippocrates believed that people can be divided into 4 distinct yet overlapping categories based on their humors, which are fluids presumed to be inside the body and whose imbalance can lead to illness. These are also responsible for the different types of temperaments and personality. This theory still remains popular today and is used for employee management. Knowing these 4 temperaments and understanding how they work can assist with interactions between yourself, coworkers, and supervisors. Furthermore, identifying the strengths and weaknesses of each temperament assists in determining how people are capable of performing in a group. Down below are the 4 most common temperaments and their advantages and disadvantages. The main advantage of being a sanguine is the ability to have flexibility and adaptability while maintaining composure. They have great communication and entertainment skills. Some call them the life of the party due to their enthusiasm and popularity. A sanguine is a very sociable and optimistic person that makes them very easy to like. On the other hand, a sanguine often lacks the ability to empathize and understand deeply. They are disorganized and may appear not to be serious about their work. They have tendencies towards being naive and trusting others to do the work they might not get around to. They mostly enjoy having fun and being showered with approval. They tend to dislike people who don't respond to humor. Possessing the innate ability of leadership, a choleric is obedient and goal-oriented. They have the ability to make quick decisions and correct judgments, which are often impulsive. These make them better suited to a field where change is common. A choleric is quick to take charge of a situation, and they are usually fast-paced and require a degree of control in their work. They have a good sense of self-confidence and a sincere belief in personal achievement, which often leads to them accomplishing more in a short amount of time. However, due to their nature, a choleric will come across as too domineering, autocratic, and impatient. They often have difficulties delegating tasks to subordinates, and at the same time expecting them to produce the same quality as he does. They enjoy the presence and company of people who are supportive and cooperative. They dislike laziness and disloyalty. The calm and harmonious, a phlegmatic value understanding and peace. They are composed and collected and have an even-tempered disposition with a drizzle of dry humor. They are meticulous in their decision-making, which can often be a disadvantage in a fast-paced environment. A phlegmatic is often the peacekeeper of the group, solving problems and conflict objectively while maintaining an easygoing and relaxed posture. On the other hand, a phlegmatic often lacks enthusiasm, energy, and decisiveness. They dislike making major changes. Oftentimes, they don't set solid goals, react slowly, and avoid facing problems head-on. A phlegmatic likes people who recognizes their own strengths and initiate action and decisions. They do not like people who are too arrogant or pushy. While melancholics are known as pessimistic and prefer solitude, they possess compassion for those in need. They are meticulous, organized, and analytical. They pay attention to every detail and think of every possible outcome. This makes them good at setting and organizing long-term goals. They have high standards and ideals that they deem perfect. A melancholic understands feelings while demanding quality performance. Oftentimes, a melancholic takes life too seriously. They tend to focus too much on details and preparation. They insist on achieving perfection. However, they do enjoy the company of intellectual people that can carry deep and sensible conversations. They dislike forgetfulness, tardiness, superficiality, and unpredictability. Due to the varying degrees of positive and negative traits in a single temperament, a combination of temperaments is not uncommon. Fast-paced leaders are often categorized as sanguine choleric, while decision-makers and advisors are melancholic phlegmatic. It's balance that makes for a happy and healthy workplace. If you're hiring people, make sure you get a balance of temperaments to ensure harmony in the office.
So it was video which gives us more information about 4 temperament, and maybe you understand which temperament is yours. So our third part is character. So it's first and the last part in our lecture. So character. Character is that part of personality developed through learning and experience. It is contrasted with temperament, the innate component of personality, and we can see the formula. Personality is temperament plus character. Character can be defined as the collection of core values possessed by an individual that leads to moral commitment and action. Character here is seen as value in action, and in this sense is related to the more evaluative concept of moral character. Character and personality are often confused since they both answer the question of what type of person you are. Your character is a set of learned behavior traits that determine whether you will effectively achieve goals, be forthright in dealing with others, and will obey the law and rules of the group. Although character is related to personality, it is not the same thing. Personality primarily consists of unborn traits, while character consists of learned behavior. Both may vary with the situation. That's why we don't say that personality is the same as character. So, in the first video, we already see information about Big Five personality traits. It's a very famous theory, though there is some overlap in the theories of character and personality, as can be seen by the Big Five personality traits. And here we see a picture about it, and also the main five block. So, extroversion and introversion, agreeableness, conscientiousness, neuroticism, emotional stability, and openness to experience. In a more short way, we call this just one word. You can see it here. And sometimes we use just one word like O, C, E, A, and N. So this is Big Five. So let's speak about each of them. First is openness. Openness is a characteristic that includes imagination and insight. The world, other people, and then journeys to learn and experience new things is particularly high for this personality trait. It leads to having a broad range of interests and being more adventurous when it comes to decision making. Creativity also plays a big part in the openness trait. This leads to a greater common zone when it comes to abstract and lateral thinking. Conscientiousness is a trait that includes high level of thoughtfulness, good impulse control, and goal-directed behavior. This organized and structured approach is often found with people who work in science, and even higher retail, finance, or detail orientation organization are required as a skill set. A highly conscientious person will regularly plan ahead and analyze their own behavior to see how it affects others. Project management team and HR departments regularly have highly conscientious people working in their team to help balance out the structural roles within the overall team development. For example, a good example of a conscientious person will be someone you know who is always planning ahead for the next time you meet, and in the meantime regularly staying in contact, checking in your well-being. They like to organize around certain dates and events and are focused on you when you meet. People low of conscientiousness tend to dislike structure and schedule, procrastinate or unpack tasks, and fail to complete tasks as well. Extroversion. Extroversion, sometimes referred to an extroversion, is a trait that many will have come across in their own lives. It's easily identifiable and widely recognizable as someone who gets energy in the company of others. These, among other traits, which include talkativeness, assertiveness, a high amount of emotional experience, have made extroverted people widely recognizable over many years of social interaction. Extroverts tend to have very public-facing role, including areas such as sales, marketing, teaching, and politics. Seen as leaders, extroverted people will be more likely to lead the stand in the crowd and be seen to not be doing anything. Agreeableness. People who exhibit high agreeableness will show sign of trust, altruism, kindness, and affection. Highly agreeable people tend to have high prosocial behavior, which means that they're more inclined to be helping other people. Sharing, comforting, and cooperating are traits that lend themselves to highly agreeable personality types. Empathy towards all the commonly understood, and another form of agreeableness, even if the term doesn't quite fit. Agreeable people tend to find career in an area where they can help most. Charity work, medicine, mental health, and even those who volunteer in sub kitchen and dedicate time to the third sector are high in the agreeableness chart. Neuroticism. It's characterized by sadness, moodiness, and emotional instability, often mistaken for antisocial behavior or worse, a greater psychological issue. Neuroticism is a physical and emotional response to stress and perceived threats in someone's daily life. Individuals who exhibit high levels of neuroticism will tend to experience mood swings, anxiety, and irritability. Some individuals who experience sudden change in character from a day-to-day perspective could be highly neurotic and respond to high stress level in their work and personal lives. Anxiety, which plays a large part in the makeup of neuroticism, is about an individual's ability to cope with stress and a perceived or an actual risk. People who suffer with neuroticism will overthink a lot of situations and find difficulty in relaxing even in their own space. Also here you can see some high and low part of each of them. Also, let's speak about Cursive sorter. Aspect temperament. We've got the 16 character types in Cursive sorter, and also you can find information on the website, which I'll show you later. Each of Cursive temperaments is subdivided into 4 character types. In addition to the label given to each character type by Cursive, each type is also labeled with a set of 4 letters corresponding to the 4 sets of preference used in another personality assessment, the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator, to label personality types. Those preferences and the letters used to symbolize them are E. Extroversion, VSI. Introversion, sensing with intuition, thinking with feeling, judging with perceiving. The 16 types are listed below and separated by temperament. So let's see. So we can see 4 groups. You can see it here. So we remember Artesian, Guardian, Idealist, and Rational. And about character, 16 type. So Artesian, we see 4 types in each block. So composers are sensitive and have a talent for very artistic elements. Crafters are expert tool but aren't easy to get close to. Performers are entertainers who are able to delight and stimulate with their talents. Promoter are bold, daring, optimistic, excited to be around. In Black Guardian, we can see inspectors are dedicated to their responsibility and the rules and standards upholding the institution they are part of. Protectors are concerned with maintaining the safety and security of the people they care about. Providers simply philanthropy, social service, and meet the needs of others. Supervisors are highly involved in social groups and like to take a responsibility and leadership role within them. So in block Idealist, we can see champion, have complex emotional lives and seek out meaningful experience and fascinating people. Counselors are dedicated to helping others realize their full potential. Healers care deeply about special people and important causes and are driven to help conflicts. And teacher, have a talent for teaching others and have boundless belief in their students. And block rational. So we can see architect, a master design of everything from building to corporate system. Field marshal tend to take jobs as leaders and executives due to their ability to create well-oiled systems that meet both short and long-term goals. Inventors, they're constantly using the talent to innovate and find better ways to do things. And mastermind are planners who understand complex systems and are able to plan for all contingencies. More information about these 16 types also you can find in website I show you. So this is different type of character. And to understand more about these 5, we will see last video for today about the big 5 personality traits. So it's also 5 minutes.
The theory of the Big 5 personality traits claims that we can describe ourselves with 5 main characteristics: open, conscientious, extrovert, agreeable, neurotic. Each of us varies in how much of each trait is shown in our personality. In order to understand what each trait really means, let's look at these 5 characters and how they cope after they wreck their boat and are stranded on an island in the middle of the ocean. Open Odelia is excited and interested in exploring this beautiful island. The exotic nature inspires her. She has collected stones, shells and blossoms to decorate the entrance of the bamboo hut that she built for everyone. She feels this is an opportunity to learn so many new things. Claire is conscientious. She is not excited. She is concerned about the seriousness of the situation. She is glad she saved the survival kit from their ship. As usual, she is prepared and starts the crucial tasks right away. She feels that it is her duty to organize everyone and make sure that they will start looking for the things they need for survival: fresh water and food. Extrovert Emil is thrilled because they all survived. He feels a strong need to talk and share his happiness. He gathers everyone to celebrate their survival and to tell them about his plan to explore the island together. Agreeable Albert is kind by nature, and despite being tired and thirsty, his main concern is Nora. He offers her a drink from his coconut. The others know that he usually agrees to everything and are not shy to ask for his help. Nora is neurotic and easily stressed. She has a total breakdown. She sits down on the beach and cries. How are they ever going to get away from this island? To her, the ocean around them looks endless. Nature looks dark and dangerous. She feels completely lost. After 8 weeks, 2 ships appear on the horizon. Everyone gets excited. Emil has the idea to make a fire. He calls the others to help. Claire immediately starts to work. Albert brings more wood. Odelia is holding up her beautifully arranged SOS sign, while Nora screams desperately for help. Little do they know who is sailing on these ships. The first ship carries a group of psychologists who have been traveling the oceans since the 1980s. They are investigating the Big 5 personality traits, which is also known as the 5-factor or ocean model. The captain, Louis Goldberg, coined the term Big 5. He is thrilled when he sees the 5 friends at the beach, each one matching exactly one trait: open, conscientious, extrovert, agreeable, neurotic. Though he decides not to stop the boat. As a scientist, he prefers to watch from afar. On the other ship are 5 pirates, all possessing the exact opposite traits of our friends. Let's see if you can recognize them. Pirate 1 is emotionally stable and very relaxed. When she sees the survivors on the beach, she says, "We could help them." Pirate 2 immediately gets angry with her. He is not listening to anyone and is not willing to change his plans in order to help some strangers on an island. Pirate 3 thinks this is a complex situation. He thinks that all possible outcomes need to be considered. He feels the need to be alone and think. Pirate 4 doesn't care. He's busy looking for the keys to his treasure chest, which he's lost again. The captain is not open to any new experiences. He ends all discussions when he says, "Our boat won't stop." What do you think about the Big Five? Do you recognize your own personality in some of the traits? Or do you think this theory is flawed, as we cannot describe an entire personality in 5 parameters? If you watch this in class and you are not sure which traits you have, pick a friend and describe each other. Many of us are bad at describing ourselves, so an outside perspective is often helpful.
So this was very funny video about 5 personality, which show like a little fairy tale about this 5 type. So the study of personality, temperament and character has a broad and varied history in psychology with an abundance of theoretical tradition. The major theories include dispositional trait perspective, psychodynamic, humanistic, biological, behaviorist, evolutionary, and social learning perspective. Or we can see that these 3 parts, our temperament, our character, and our personality, it's a very important part of us, important part of each of you. And if you're interested, you can learn more about personal psychology and about this 3 part. And also I advise you to try some test about temperament or character, because it's interesting, funny, and I think you will know more information about you. So we finished with our 3rd lecture. As you see, we speak about 3 parts: personality, temperament, and character. It was a big part, and I think you now understand more about yourself, about psychology, about personal psychology. So let's see what we can see here. Later I see which number here, who watched this video. So our next seminar, which each of your group will be in Zoom. So next Tuesday, for example, next Tuesday is group 24, 22, and 20. And you will see in portal also link to the Zoom, because we need to speak in Zoom and also give you our big final psychology exercise, and you understand what you need to do. That's why please check portal also, and be sure that you see the link and see your information. If you've got some question right now, we've got something like few minutes, you can write it in chat. For example, if you've got some question, please take your time, you can do it if you're interested. So if you've got some question about lecture, about our seminars and so on, you can write me here. Our next seminar, it's not a test, it will be another task. I put a link to the Zoom. We will meet in the Zoom, and I tell you about your task, and you understand what to do, because our task will connect it with some very famous psychology school. That's why no test for this seminar, just working in Zoom. So near evening I download presentation to WhatsApp chat, and also later to the portal also, and you can download it, read it carefully, and of course maybe try to take a test about temperament and so on. It will be later, today later. So I didn't see any question more. So if it's no question, I think everything understandable. And we will finish our lecture for today. Great. So if you've got some question, you can write me by mail. On the first lecture, on the first presentation, you can find my mail. Also, you can write me in portal USU chat. And you can write your monitor, and monitor can write me in WhatsApp if you've got some question. But easy way, it's to write to mail, or just speak with your monitor, and monitor told me about some problem. So let's finish with our lecture number 3. So I was glad to see you in chat, like something like that. If you've got some question, please write me, and see you next seminar. And next lecture, our next lecture will be 29th of October. Yes, it's our next. It will be our 4th lecture. So goodbye for everyone. See you soon.